Hi, it's Nora from Nora Jane Fit. So today's video, I'm going to talk about the impact of stress, chronic stress, and trauma or traumatic situations on how we show up and how we commit to ourselves with physical activity, with exercise, with self-care, and with self-love. So I will talk about this from a personal experience. So around 8 years ago, right when my daughter was born, I went through a really difficult time in my life, and I didn't realize that at that time it was so super traumatic for me. And I, as an ex-athlete and a personal trainer, I had always and will always love exercise, and I decked out my front room into a mini gym. And Vivi was, she was quite young, about 4 or 5 weeks. So I was doing that in preparation for when I would get my postnatal track to allow me to exercise. So on the 6th week, when I was able to, when I was cleared and able to exercise, I couldn't even do a lunge. Like I could not even do one lunge. I was in so much pain. And this was me who, I was always a little wild girl, always outside in the bush, sprinting, climbing up hills, always doing a high intensity exercise. And my first pregnancy, my only pregnancy, like I couldn't do a lunge, so that knocked me back. And then I had other challenges in my life at the time, where at that particular point in my life, I felt like I was starting over, like I was finding myself as a new mom, um, and a whole bunch of other things. It was pretty traumatic for me. So what that meant was that when I realized that I couldn't turn to exercise for my relief, like I used exercise as a way to de-stress, to process what was going on, as a physical form of meditation. When I didn't have that, I went back to journaling and writing. But as a new mother, and I was breastfeeding, I was tired. I was so tired. As time went on, um, things didn't get better in my personal situation and circumstances. So um, I neglected exercise. I came up with every excuse, and this is my cousin telling me, like, because she kept saying to me, Lenore, like, you're not exercising. What's going on? And I would give her every excuse, like, Nicole, I'm tired, like I'm doing this on my own. Um, she's breastfeeding, she's waking up, every 20 minutes. And truth be told, I was on maternity leave. I could have adjusted my schedule to fit, rest when she was resting. I could have changed my mindset around what was happening and made the best of that time, because I tell you what, if I went back to that time now, I'd approach it in a completely different way. And I made every excuse for myself not showing up. I did not take care of myself at all. The self care wasn't there. The self love wasn't there. I was so angry with myself and with what had happened in my life at that time. I was angry at everyone. And it was sort of this grasping at air to find myself in this new reality. And I did not show up to exercise. And I find that so much with a lot of the clients that I come into contact with, who are at this point in their life where they're overweight, they're in chronic pain, they are depressed, stressed out, anxious, worried. There's always some display of some form of illness. And when you dig down and you dig deep and you get into their story, you will find that with the majority of them, something traumatic has happened in their life. So what is traumatic for me might not be traumatic for you. And necessarily what is traumatic for somebody else might not be traumatic for the other person. But trauma is trauma all the same. So what I realize is that when people suffer from something that's traumatic and they haven't processed it, we do not commit to ourselves physically. You'll either see it on two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So you'll see either like an obsession with exercise, or like an eating disorder, something like that, or you'll see a complete removal of that from that person's lifestyle. So it's all about finding the balance. And for me, I, at this point of my life and in my career, I would be very hesitant to work with somebody as a PT who was, after that initial conversation and I realized that they were processing trauma, had not dealt with it, because they won't commit. They'll find it so hard to commit because the self-love aspect is not there. So when I went back to going back to my story, in those early days, I went through a long time, years of on and off exercise. And the main thing was I didn't love myself. You know, I was so angry about everything and so angry at myself. And I had to do a lot of work with going within, a lot of prayer, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of talking to people who I loved and respected and trusted, and finding my own part in the story, whatever story I had created. And realizing that for me, what is so comforting is realizing that everything happens for a reason. Everything happens to serve my highest good. Everything happens in divine timing. I have chosen to, you know, and I am a Christian. I hesitated before I said that, right? Because I was like, haha, you can't say that because, you know, if you're a Christian, you can. But I'm a Christian, but I believe that, like, we have come from a soul experience. Like, we have come here and we've come to this reality to sort of experience lessons and grow. Our souls need to grow. And so all the difficult things that have happened, all the shit that has happened in my life, I realize this is only, like, I look back and I think, wow, I am so strong. Like, I'm so happy and grateful I went through all of this. But I had to get to that point and I had to do the work, and I'm still doing the work. It's not like, you know, some days you think back, well, like, oh my God, like, why did I do that? So it's a continuous process, continual process. And I love myself so much now that I'm committed to doing the work. And that's what took me out of the rut. Taking the time to sit down, to journal, to pray, to figure things out, to sit in silence, to talk to people who are respected, to go for counseling, that helped massively. And that's not something that, you know, we do a lot within the Caribbean. And I'm from Trinidad. And I did it. I didn't care. I was like, I need to fix myself. I need to get my head back together. I need to function from a place of not being, you know, upset, depressed, sad, frustrated, angry, all of those like low vibrational energies, because I also love the vision boarding and love, like, you know, law of attraction and bringing things into my life. And I realized that there's no way that that stuff is going to work if I don't fix my vibration. That meant that I had to work on my own energy. So when I was able to do that, I was then able to love myself and respect myself enough to know that, hey, shit happens. Like, we're not always going to make the right choices. Yes, we're going to see red flags and like color them green in our heads. Yes, we're going to make choices that don't serve our best interests. Yes, we're going to mingle and mesh with the wrong people, but in a way, this is sort of all preordained, right? If you think about like the lessons, the greater lessons that you have to learn. So I let most of it go as much as I could, and I committed to showing up. And, you know, exercise is hard because I don't exercise like little, you know, like easy flimsy sessions. Like when I exercise, I go hard. And trying to, and I'm also very, like, I'm type A personality. I like things done perfectly on time in like, you know, quite rigid structure. I like to be in control of things. And with a new baby, like, you can't do that. With a child, like, you can't do that. I think because I'm sort of attachment parenting style, her needs come first. So I'd always be putting myself on the back burner. And it was a lot of learning around how to recreate my lifestyle, how to be flexible, how to not have to go so hard all the time, how to think about getting the same results but in a different way. So it's a lot of learning. But the main thing is that after I went through all of that, you know, all of that trauma and all of the unsettling and shaking up of my life and being able to own who I was, I had to commit to loving myself as I was during each part of that journey. And that was not always easy. And one powerful thing I did was I would stand in the mirror and look deep into my eyes until I felt like I was like in my soul, right? And I would tell myself how much I loved myself, how much I respected myself, how much I was grateful for myself. And I did it until I felt good. And so I don't feel those feelings that I used to feel before because I am who I am. Anyway, so I go on. So people who are struggling with losing weight, committing to exercise, committing to eating properly, overeating, binge drinking, making every excuse in the book to not commit to exercise or changing their lifestyles to support their health, there's something going on. Because Nicole said to me, she goes, Nora, you have a gym in your front room and you're finding in your house. You are on maternity leave and you're finding every excuse not to exercise. What is going on? 24 hours in a day, you could do 10 minutes. Like, what is going on? And she was right. I was avoiding something. Now if I had that gym in my house, whew, it'd be a different story. I'd be on it every day. That's only because I love myself and I commit to the self-care. So if you're struggling, sit down. I really encourage you, sit down, go within, go to those places where We all have those dark places, those things that like nobody knows about, those things that are so traumatic, so painful, so heavy, and so hard for us to deal with. Those are the these. This is where we need to go. This is where we need to start, because it is from here that growth happens. If you need to get the support of a counselor, I think putting an energy practice into it, like Reiki, or Theta healing, is so super powerful as well. In addition to lots of prayer and fasting, which I did, and yes, you can couple the two together. I really think that if you take the time, I know that if you take the time to go within and fix your shit, fix the things that have not worked in your life, fix the way that you feel about yourself, that you think about yourself, go through the processes, dig up the little graves that we have, planted, all the little things that we've buried within those graves, dig them up, go through them, unearth them, and smooth things out. Then you will find, because our bodies hold on to trauma as well, right? They do. And I find that with a lot of people who are obese, I've had so many clients that were like morbidly obese and like just really overweight, and they've gone through some really terrible times that haven't processed it, suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, don't know that they have it, and don't understand why they cannot commit to exercise, why they don't love themselves, why they're eating junk, why they're, binge eating, like why every excuse happens. They start, they stop, they start, they stop. Haven't fixed the stuff, have not gone within. So that's the first step, people. Like, go within, get a counselor, get a pastor, get a friend, use yourself, get a journal and a piece of paper and a pen. Well, the journal has a paper in there, right? So just get the journal and a pen or pencil, and you just write. Allow yourself to cry, be free with how you're feeling, and process and cleanse, emotionally cleanse. It's like a spiritual emotional detox. When you have done that, and it will take some time if you have a lot of things to go through, when you have done that, you will feel such a release. And I would also say adding things like herbal drinks as well, like chamomile, lemon balm, valerian, hops, passion flower. Those things help to sort of soothe the nervous system. So you can add things like that, and lavender, rose maybe, whilst you're doing this. Make it a therapeutic thing. Then you're doing this daily. So every day you get up, you journal for a few minutes, like 10 minutes, an hour if you need to. First thing in the morning when you're alone, last thing before you go to bed, and just journal. Just journal, get it out, get it out, get it out. Then you're going to practice one or two things for self-care. So for me, like what I do now, I'll whip up a mask, right? Like with some what do I have? Bentonite clay or Rasool clay or rose powder or turmeric powder or charcoal powder. Whip it up, put it on your face. Teaspoon of coconut oil in your mouth. Put a hair mask on. In 15 minutes, everything comes off, and you have just done a lymphatic cleanse for your with your teeth with the coconut oil pulling. So you're helping to support the immune system, which is great when you're feeling stress over a long period of time. You've done some self-care for the skin, your hair is conditioned and washed, and now all you need to do is just have a shower and start your day. Like that, 3 things in one. How amazing is that? And you feel so good having done that. So I did that yesterday, by the way. And I feel so good doing that. And then when you show up for yourself like that, you think, oh, hey, I did that. Like, what else can I do to feel good? Grounding is really important. So allowing your body to sort of balance the electrons and the energy that we're picking up from everything around us and putting it back into the earth and getting from the earth all of that good positive energy. So walking outside barefoot on grass, being in nature. I did a lot of nature walks. By water. I'm always pulled to bodies of water. So like by a river or waterfall or by the beach. Sitting in silence, listening to nothing, just your own thoughts, and not trying to like judge your thoughts or figure them out, just allowing them to pass. I see you, I hear you, I know you're here. Keep going. Meditation, guided meditation was really huge for me. Michael Seeley was a lifesaver. Emotional freedom technique. So that's tapping, EFT. So like when you're tapping on different points, that helps to release. And I just tap everywhere. Just tap. It's so good. That helps to release energy as well. Paul Yates or Brad Yates. I think it's Paul Yates. Paul or Brad Yates. He's amazing. Like I did his tapping. And then I did Theta healing. I looked at my body. I got everything I needed. I used a herbalist. I used a homeopathist. I studied nutrition myself. And I took ownership of my role in it. And that's what a lot of us need to do. Take responsibility for our parts. If we get out of the victim mode, and yes, sometimes we are victims, but if we get out of the victim mode and say, hey, this is my role in this, like what can I do now to put myself in a different place, this is where the healing will begin. So this is my message. If you are struggling with weight loss, if you cannot commit to a program, if you're finding it hard to show up, if you are making every excuse in the book, oh, the classes are too hard, or oh, the classes are too long, or oh, it's boring, or I don't find anybody that I like, or oh, I can't diet, or everything's making me sick, especially if you complain a lot, oh my God. Those ones get me. Like the ones who complain about everything. Everything hurts. Everything's painful. There's an injury each week. Like, get it together. Like, for yourself. And I know that sounds really harsh, but like, you need to get your shit together. Like, life is so short. Life is so short. And if we look back on all these years that we've wasted, all that pain that we've allowed ourselves to just live in, like, how terrible is that? When we have the option to change it, when we are, you know, human beings, we are strong by nature. And yes, shit happens, and yes, life sucks, and yes, things are hard, and life is tough, and like, you know, we think everybody else has it better, but hey, we've come here to live our own story and to create our own path, and that will only happen if we take positive action in the right steps. And that only starts with when we're ready to come out of victim mode in every way. Stop blaming people. Stop blaming ourselves. Oh, my body's not strong enough. Oh, I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too this. I'm too that. What's that? So I do get a little bit worked up with that because I see people who are just overweight and in pain and suffering for no reason, you know, because you can do it. You can. You just have to commit to a few months of going through some dark times, you know, a few months of unearthing that pain, a few months of going to places that we don't want to go. But when you get over the other side of that, my God, is it the relief? It is, oh, it's such a relief. Like, it's like you're climbing up a hill with a huge bag of heavy weights, and it's so heavy and so high and so steep. You could literally just inch up on the tip of your toes up the hill. But when you drop that bag, you fly up. You fly up. That is what doing that work is about. So I really strongly encourage you to sit down and figure out what your stress was or is. What happened in your life that was so traumatic? Forget what anybody else thinks. Okay, this is your life. This is how you processed it. People might say, oh, that's nothing to be upset about. Oh, that's not traumatic. Oh, like, you know, you need to be stronger. Oh, like that was hard. If that was hard for you, that was hard for you. And that's your business. That's what affected you. That's what you need to deal with. So go within, figure out what was traumatic for you, figure out what was stressful for you, figure out what messed you up, figure out what brought you from here to here, and go within, journal, write everything down, pray, breathe, meditate, go out in nature, cry, scream, process your emotions, get the help of somebody else. And also there's a transformational breath work. I haven't tried that, but I heard that it works really well. Do whatever and set your intention. So before you do all of this, like, set your intention. My intention is to heal. My intention is to get better. My intention is to find myself again. Whatever your intention is, my intention is to be healthy in every way, mentally, physically, spiritually. Set your intention and then do the work. You'll have some days where you don't show up. That's fine. That's part of the process, but so long as you don't quit. When you have done the emotional work, that is your foundation. When you have done the emotional work, then you can set the stage for the physical activity, for the nutrition, for everything else. And it is then and only then, in my opinion, will you find the clients who are struggling with weight loss, struggling with anxiety, depression, struggling with overeating, binge eating, or food disorders. When they have done the emotional work, then you have equipped them properly to fly. So that's my message for you guys. Life is hard sometimes. We get angry at ourselves. We make bad decisions. We put ourselves in stupid situations. We mess our lives up because of that. But on the other end of it, there's so many lessons to be learned, so much growth that takes place, so many different opportunities that come out of that. And at the end of all of that, we still have to live with ourselves. And, you know, we're with ourselves all the time. And we need to be happy with who we are. We need to enjoy life. We need to be able to be proud of who we are. Look at ourselves and say, I love you, and mean it. And that will only happen when we process all of the stress that we've gone through on a daily basis, just like we have a shower and brush our teeth. We cleanse emotionally as well. And we're strong enough to do the rest of the things that we need to do. So I hope you've liked this video. If you have, like and subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram on NoraJaneFit1 and Facebook on NoraJaneFit. If you've got any questions, comments, or anything like that, please feel free to hit me up. I'll probably do a part 2 to this because I'm talking about it and I'm feeling like you have more to say. But it's enough for now. So I'm out. I hope you guys enjoyed and I will see you later.